We always hear that debt is just a symptom of bad government policy or people spending too much. But what if it's something way deeper than that? What if the constant rise of debt is actually hardwired into the very source code of modern capitalism? All right, let's get into it because this is a really fascinating puzzle.
So here's the big mystery we're going to tackle. Why does it feel like debt only has a one-way ticket up? The analysis we're exploring today argues this isn't some temporary glitch. It suggests that this endless accumulation of debt is like a genetic defect that's built right into the system's need for profit. And the argument really boils down to this. For the economy to make a profit, new money has to keep flowing in. And in our system, pretty much all new money is born as debt.
Okay, so to crack this mystery, first we got to look at the clues. And the first big clue is that the way we normally think about debt is just wrong. We kind of picture it like the seasons, right? It goes up, it comes down, it's a cycle. But when you actually look at the data, whoa, it tells a completely different story.
Just take a look at this. It's crystal clear. What you're seeing here is more than 200 years of debt in the US. And you can see, it doesn't just rise and then fall back to where it started. Nope. After every single crisis, it might dip a little, but then it sets a new, higher floor. It's not a wave, it's a ladder. And the thing is, each step up gets locked in. We just keep climbing.
So why? Why this relentless step-by-step climb? Well, to get that, we need to ask an even more basic question. What's the real point of our whole economic system? Is it really about making stuff for people to use, or is the goal something else entirely?
And this right here, this really gets to the heart of it. On the left, you've got the simple view we all learn in school. You sell a commodity, let's say your chickens, to get some money, so you can go buy a different commodity, like new shoes. Money is just the middleman. But the reality of our economy, on the right, is the complete opposite. You start with money, you use it to make a commodity, but the only reason you do that is to sell it and end up with more money.
And that is the absolute kicker. That more money, the profit, it's not some nice little bonus. It's the entire point. I mean, think about it. If a business doesn't think it's going to end up with more cash than it started with, why would it even bother? It wouldn't. The whole engine just stalls. No profit, no production. Simple as that. Profit is the system's prime directive.
Okay, but hold on. This is where things get really weird. If the whole point is to end up with more money, where does that more money actually come from? This simple question exposes what some call a fatal flaw, a kind of glitch in the matrix of our economic system.
Let's break this down. Super simple. Imagine a company pays out $100 for everything, wages for its workers, rent, materials. That $100 is now out there in people's pockets as income. But to make a profit, that same company has to sell all its products for $110. Now wait, if there's only $100 of income out there to buy the products, how in the world can the company make $110 in sales? Where is that extra $10 supposed to come from? It's like trying to get water from an empty well. It's mathematically impossible.
And listen, this isn't some fringe theory. We're talking about some of the heaviest hitters in economic history. You've got Schumpeter, Keynes, Marx. I mean, these guys disagreed on pretty much everything, but they all saw this exact same fundamental problem. If the amount of money in the system is fixed, then economy-wide profit can't happen. It's just a zero-sum game. My profit has to be your loss. So how does our economy ever actually grow?
Well, it turns out the system has a secret weapon, a kind of hidden backdoor, a money pipe that's constantly feeding new cash into the loop, just so that profit is mathematically possible. And there it is. The secret ingredient is credit. It's debt. When a commercial bank makes a loan, it's not just lending out someone else's savings. It literally creates new money out of thin air just by typing numbers into your account. Poof. And that new money, which is born as debt, is what fills our profit gap. That's the missing $10 we were looking for. It's an injection from outside the original loop. So great, problem solved. We can just create money as debt, profits happen, the economy grows, everyone's happy, right? Well, not so fast. This solution comes with a pretty serious catch, a dangerous trade-off. It's what you might call a devil's bargain.
And here's how that bargain puts us on a treadmill. First, new debt money gets injected, which lets profits happen. Fantastic. But that debt has to be paid back, and not just the original amount, but with interest. So now there's actually less money available in the system than before. So what do you have to do to make a profit next year and pay off last year's debt? You got it. You need an even bigger injection of new debt. The logic is a trap. For the economy to grow, the total amount of debt must also grow. and it has to grow even faster.
And it gets worse. This fire hose of new debt money, where does it all go? Well, a huge chunk of it doesn't go into building new factories or creating jobs. It floods into asset markets, stocks, real estate. This is what blows up massive speculative bubbles where prices go to the moon, totally disconnected from any real value. Debt is growing way faster than the actual economy, and we all know how that story ends, right? The bubble bursts, a crisis hits, and then comes the bailout, which just locks in all that debt at an even higher level than before. Sound familiar?
So this all sounds kind of bleak, doesn't it? If we're stuck on this escalating ladder of debt, is there any way to get off? Is it even possible to break the chain that ties our economic growth to this kind of instability?
Well, the analysis we're looking at here proposes a pretty radical structural fix. See, on the left is our current system, where private banks create pretty much all our money, and it always comes with interest-bearing debt attached. But the idea on the right is a sovereign money system. What if the state, the government, could create new money without creating debt? It could then just spend that money into the economy on things like infrastructure, or even give it to citizens, allowing for growth without this automatic corresponding mountain of private debt.
And that's really the big takeaway from all of this. If endlessly rising debt is the mathematical result of how our money system is designed, then you can't just fix it by tinkering around the edges. You can't just tweak an interest rate here or there. Structural flaws require structural fixes. We need to stop calling it a debt crisis and start calling it what it really is, a monetary system crisis. The problem isn't a bug, it's a feature.
So that's the final question this leaves us with. Is this constant climb of debt just an iron law of economics, the price we absolutely must pay for profit and growth? Or could we design a system differently? Can we actually have prosperity without being buried under this ever-growing mountain of debt? It's the fundamental question of our time. Thanks for watching.